What's up, guys? Justin Morgan here, Carved Up Vegan Muscle, and this video I want to talk a little bit about programming for Strongman and how I personally am choosing to do it. I run for whether I do powerlifting or Strongman. Ideally I'll get in a hypertrophy block, a strength block, and then a peaking block where I'll cover each of those in individual videos. So this one is specifically going to be how I'm doing my hypertrophy block, and this program is specific to me, so that's something that you should consider in what you're, however you choose to implement your programming. I practice high frequency lifting for each of the lifts. When I'm training for powerlifting, there's a lot of squatting at various rep ranges, I guess you'd say, it's specific though. It's and this particular competition that I'm preparing for is the Big Phil Brown Classic in Columbus, Ohio. And the events for this will be Atlas stones, the big stone, which I'll be going for the really big stone, or the really big. I think the way he describes it is that there's an implement, a heavy implement, and then a really freaking big heavy implement. And so the big stone for my weight class, the middleweight, 231, 105 kilos, 231 pounds, is 400 pounds for the Atlas stone. You load a 400-pound Atlas stone as many times as possible to whatever the platform is, or over a bar or something like that. There is a car deadlift. I think for my weight class is an Ultima with 200 pounds added to it. I'm not sure exact weights on that. I know it's over 500 pounds, so you'll be doing that for as many reps as possible in 60 seconds. The big log press, log clean and press, will be 300 pounds for my weight class. And so my goals are to at least hit those. There's a yoke walk, my weight class is 700 pounds, and then there is another event where you hold Thor's hammer out to the side, and you're supposed to hold it up, for as long as you possibly can. So that is that's basically the events. So that is obviously going to play a large role in how I'm choosing to program this. So for hypertrophy, I need to do quite a bit of things that will carry over to those events. So for carrying over to the stones, and then to a lesser degree the other deadlifting events in this, and the yoke, I'm doing both back squatting and front squatting. So in practicing daily undulating periodization, which is another element that I've chosen to plug into this for my hypertrophy block, at the beginning of the week I am doing sets of 12, 10, and 8 in each week. So week 1 I'll be working with sets of 12, week 2 sets of 10, and then during the later part of the week I'll be doing sets of 8, 7, 6. Week 1 I'll be doing sets of 8, week 2 sets of 7, week 3 sets of 6. So that's kind of how that will roll out. And so the lifts themselves are that, like I said, the squat and the front squat. So beginning of the week, Monday, Tuesday is squat, Tuesday's front squat, and then that'll repeat that same thing on Thursday and Friday. To carry over most to the log during my hypertrophy phase, I am going to be working with strict press as kind of my primary thing. I'll be doing both bench press and strict press. The idea is to build up the muscles that will be going into the log. Later on I'll get much more specific. Explosiveness will come much more into play, especially in the peaking phase, but right now the goal is to build the muscles that will actually carry over to that event, not necessarily to train the event itself. Having said that though, I'm also doing a lot of Wednesday is, I kind of said what I did on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday I'm doing a 3-inch deficit deadlift. Front squats probably carry over the most to the second part of the stone, Atlas stone loading, where you're actually standing up with the stone to load it onto the platform. So you'll kind of sit in a seated bottom squat position. You'll kind of come up in the way that I just showed you. But now for the actual pull from the floor, that requires something very different. So what I'm doing for that is deficit deadlifts. I'm doing them off a 3-inch deficit, and I'm doing them at relatively high rep ranges. That day I'm also doing dips as an accessory movement, and then assisted pull-ups. I do abs pretty frequently as well. So that's kind of what's going on through the week, just a basic idea. Now on Saturday, I need a way to actually train the lifts. So to replicate the car deadlift, I don't have a car deadlift platform to practice with, so I'm doing touch and go deadlifts off an 18-inch deficit. Typically, car deadlifts are set up a little higher, so that what will replicate that the best will be using weights that are similar. So this past week, I did 475 pounds for 8 reps. So pretty close to what I'll actually be doing at the competition, and it really wasn't too bad. I wasn't too fatigued by that. I probably could have done 2-3 more reps. So that was pretty good. And now I'll be doing those with same basic rep ranges that I described before, 8, 7, 6. Now for the log, I'm doing things a little bit differently. I want to get in plenty of volume work while doing it, but I also want to practice the lift in the way that it's going to be done. So low rep ranges. Probably not going to be doing sets of 10 at the competition, and I'm probably not going to be able to do sets of 10 with a 300-pound log. So I'm cleaning it from the ground, and then I get it up to rack position, which is a little bit different with a log than it would be with a barbell. But now at 60% of my 1 rep max, or whatever my previous 1 rep max was, this is just a way to get on lots of volume. So in aspects like this, I'm a little more apt to use percentages as opposed to RPEs at this point. But what I do here is in week 1, I'll do 10 sets of 3 with 60%. So my first rep will be a strict press with the log, second rep will be a push press, and then third rep will be a push jerk, which is what I typically use when doing max log presses. Week 2 will just be the push press and the push jerk for sets of 2 at 70%, and then, sets of 2 is in 1 push press, 1 push jerk. And then in the last week will be 10 sets of 1 at 80%, and that will just be the push jerk. I'll strictly be practicing technique at that point. Now, as far as the stones go, I'm doing the exact same thing. 10 sets of 3 at 60% in week 1, 10 sets of 2 at 70% in week 2, and so forth. The week 4 of this will probably be a recovery week, so I'll kind of take a lot of these same weights for less reps, or less sets, whatever the case may be. Now, I also need to practice yoke, so I'm going a little heavier than my back squat. My back squat's about 500 pounds right now, and I'm going up to around 590 with yoke walk. You can do a lot more with the yoke than you can with a squat where you're squatting all the way down. So that's probably a good weight for me. So I'm practicing it for speed and trying to get as efficient in that movement as possible. So that is basically how I've set up my hypertrophy block. I didn't give you guys the exact breakdown, but I did show the picture or whatever of the overall template. So if you wanted, you could have screenshotted that. If you didn't think of that, you should go back and do that, or I'll put it up now. So that's it. Look back, I will be doing the strength block and the peaking block and how I do each of those in subsequent videos. So keep a lookout for it. You guys take it easy, and I'll talk to you in the next one.